The CEO did not soften her tone. She looked straight at me across the conference table and spoke as if she were announcing a policy change. You are not being promoted, Tessa Vaughn. The role needs someone with presence, not someone who hides behind spreadsheets. A laptop key stopped mid-tap. A chair creaked. The silence felt rehearsed, like everyone knew the safest sound was none. Candace Rourke, CEO of Lattice Harbor Labs, clicked her remote. The screen behind her changed. One line, bold, centered. Sole Accountability Acceptance signed Tessa Vaughn. My name filled the wall like a warning sign. The room shifted at once, bodies leaning away as if blame were airborne. No one asked what the document was. Questions were how you earned a slide of your own. Candace nodded at the screen. The program needs an owner, she said. You already act like one. Now it is official. I stared at the signature. It looked like mine in the way a forgery looks like yours. Close enough to fool a stranger, wrong enough to make your skin itch. My real signature is fast and angled. This one was careful, posed. The moment the ink met paper came back to me, months earlier, in Candace Rourke's office. She closed the door herself. A thin folder landed on her desk. Plain cover, no letterhead. Standard pre-promotion compliance, she said. Legal likes rituals. I had spent a year dragging the Glass Orchard rollout forward. Vendors failing, requirements shifting, executives promising miracles to investors. I believed the promotion was the payment at the end. I read the paragraph she pointed to. Personal accountability, sole discretion. No authority described anywhere near it. It did not say, you lead. It said, you will be blamed. Anything I should worry about? I asked. Only if the project fails, Candace replied, as casually as if she had commented on the lobby art. She tapped the signature line with her pen. Leadership proves trust by owning outcomes, she said. Then I need authority to match responsibility, I said. Her smile stayed polished. Authority is complicated. Responsibility is efficient. I signed anyway, because I wanted the title, because I was tired, because the room had been built to make hesitation feel like betrayal. Candace slid the folder into her drawer immediately, like the paper had never existed. Good, she said. Keep everything verbal, no emails. Back in the present, she moved on to budgets as if she had not just strapped my name to a failure she had not prevented. People filed out, careful not to touch my gaze. I went to my desk, sat down, and opened a new file. Not on the shared drive. Not with a name that invited curiosity. A private ledger of facts. Instruction. Keep it verbal. Request. Sign off without authority. Decision. Made in a hallway, then pinned to me. If Candace wanted an owner, I would own the record of how ownership was manufactured. I typed until my hands steadied. Then I saved the file. Sometime in the early morning of the next day, Candace would call with another quiet emergency and another order to leave no trail. I planned to fix the work, like always. This time, I also planned to remember every word. Because if they wanted silence, I would answer with perfectly documented quiet. The next crisis arrived around the early morning as a calendar invite with no agenda. Candace loved meetings that looked harmless. Harmless meetings left fewer witnesses. In the conference room, she pointed at a chart and said, Vendor drift. Fix it quietly. No emails. A junior analyst, Sam Park, lifted a hand halfway and dropped it again. Later, back at my desk, he rolled his chair close and whispered, If we do not write anything down, how do we remember what we agreed to? We do not, I said. That is how they stay blameless. Sam blinked, then gave a small laugh that sounded like surrender. I liked him immediately. Requests kept landing in my queue. Approvals with no context. Vendor exceptions stamped urgent. Decisions that should have lived in a committee but instead landed on my name. I fixed what I could and logged the rest in my private ledger. Only facts. Dates by description, not by clock. Who asked? Who ordered silence? Who insisted I sign? Around midday, an email slipped through from finance, addressed to the executive group and, apparently, to anyone who still existed in the directory. Shield roster updated, the subject line read. I clicked. A spreadsheet opened cleanly. Names, coverage tiers, legal hotlines, crisis coaching. Every senior leader at Lattice Harbor Labs was listed, protected against the very kind of failure Candace had been loading onto me. My name was not there. I sorted alphabetically. Nothing. I searched by department. Nothing. The absence stayed loud. I walked to Candace Rourke's office and closed the door behind me. She looked up slowly, as if she were annoyed that I had brought air into her private vacuum. I turned my laptop toward her. Where is my coverage? I asked. Candace glanced once at the sheet. That is executive protection. Everyone but me is listed, I said. You are not an executive, she replied, neat and sharp. Then why am I the sole accountable owner? I asked. Why is my name on the acceptance slide? Candace leaned back. Titles complicate things, Tessa. You are safer without visibility. Safer for whom? I asked. She smiled. For you. Do not derail delivery with paperwork theatrics. I left without arguing. Arguing was entertainment. I needed leverage. Near reception, a man in a tailored suit stood as I passed. You must be Tessa, he said. Dorian Pike. His handshake was confident, slightly too warm, like he practiced it. Candace called from her doorway, not inviting him in, just announcing him. Dorian is stepping in as executive lead on Glass Orchard. Dorian Pike's smile widened. Candace says you know where everything is. Good. We will keep this clean. Keep this clean, I repeated. He laughed softly. That is the spirit. Back at my desk, Candace sent a message with no greeting. Support his transition. Keep it verbal. Sam appeared again, eyes wide. Executive lead, he mouthed. Yes, I said. A new title for a man who did not build the mess. Sam stared at my screen. Why bring him now? Because the audit rumor is getting louder, I said. And because scapegoats are easier to blame when they are isolated. Sam swallowed. What do we do? I opened my ledger and added a new section. Shield roster, executive protections, my absence. Then I added Dorian Pike name, his phrases, his requests. We stop being cover, I said. We become the part they cannot rewrite. Sam nodded slowly. Tell me what you need. I tapped the edge of my desk. I need you to keep listening, and I need you to keep your snack supplies strong. Revenge is hard work, and it is better fueled. Dorian Pike moved through Glass Orchard like a tourist with a corporate credit card. He asked for summaries, not details. When a supplier flagged a quality deviation, he smiled and said, "We will align offline." Candace approved the same phrase from her office. Keep it verbal. I kept fixing the work. I also kept logging the phrases. Sam helped without asking for credit. He saved meeting invites before Candace edited them, noted who attended, and quietly tracked which decisions were made in hallways. He called it accidental organization. I called it insurance. Sometime later, the building developed a new kind of silence. People spoke carefully. Calendars filled with sudden check-ins. No one said audit, but everyone behaved as if a flashlight was about to sweep the room. Candace summoned me. She did not offer a seat. If anyone asks, approvals are documented, she said. And if you have been keeping personal notes, delete them. Personal notes, I repeated. You heard me, she said. She wanted the only proof of her instructions erased before questions arrived. I nodded, because nodding keeps doors open. Then I returned to my desk and made a second copy of my ledger under a harmless name, Lantern Log. I added a short map for strangers, where decisions originate, who orders silence, where signatures appear, where authority ends. Dorian Pike stopped by later and leaned on my divider like we were friends. Candace says you are anxious about process, he said. Do not be. The board wants results. The board wants results that survive scrutiny, I said. He grinned. Scrutiny is for people without confidence. Confidence is cheaper than compliance, I said. That is why you can afford so much of it. His grin tightened. Try not to aim your humor upward, he said. A message arrived soon after from Candace. Schedule a leadership alignment session. You will present status. Keep it clean. I scheduled it. I also added one guest, a board liaison named Celeste Marrow. Celeste rarely visited. When she did, executives remembered how to speak in complete sentences. The session took place sometime in the afternoon. Candace sat at the head of the table, Dorian Pike at her right, both wearing calm faces. Celeste arrived last, set a folder down, and waited without speaking. Her silence did more than any raised voice. I began with current risks, then unresolved approvals, then decision trace gaps. Candace's eyes narrowed. What is this? She asked. This is the part that gets blamed later, I said. I thought we should see it while we can still fix it. Dorian Pike laughed once, too loud. That is dramatic. Dramatic would be pretending nothing is wrong until the building is on fire, I said. Celeste finally spoke. Show me the approval chain. Candace answered quickly. It is all in the system. The system shows many interim approvals, I said. Final executive sign-off is frequently verbal. Candace's voice sharpened. Stop. Celeste lifted a hand. Let her finish. So I did. I did not accuse. I read from my ledger as if it were a weather report. Instruction, keep it verbal. Directive, no emails. Request, sign off with no authority. Candace held her expression, but her eyes looked like locked doors. After the meeting, Celeste asked me to stay. Candace and Dorian Pike left together, talking too fast. You have documentation, Celeste said. I have a record, I replied. Not a revenge story. A record. Good, she said. Keep it safe. That night I wrote a resignation letter that was almost polite. No rage, only scope, authority, and professional boundaries. I placed it in an envelope in my drawer. Revenge, I realized, did not require fireworks. It required timing. Candace had taught me timing better than anyone. The message arrived sometime in the early morning with no subject line. External reviewers on site. Conference room seater. Access requests flooded my screen. Dorian wanted exports. Compliance wanted a workflow map. Candace office requested every approval history, marked urgent, as if urgency could rewrite the past. I walked to Candace office and closed the door behind me. Her smile was gone. You cannot do this today, she said, already reaching for her phone. I placed an envelope on her desk. My resignation letter, light paper for a heavy year. Candace stared at it. You are listed everywhere. You are the only one who understands the workflow. Everything you told me to keep verbal, I said. Her chair scraped. Sit down. I did not sit. I set my badge on the desk, then my laptop, then the program access tokens, neatly arranged. If you walk out, you violate your agreement, she said. Legal will bury you. I looked at her drawer, where the thin folder lived. The only time she enjoyed paperwork was when it trapped someone else. What happens when they ask how decisions were approved? I asked. Who explains the gaps when I am not here to translate your shortcuts? Candace's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes flicked toward the door, calculating. You built the system, she said. You cannot take it with you. I did not, I said. I just stopped carrying it alone. In the hallway, my access began to expire. Notifications blinked, then vanished. IT had been told to make me disappear before I became inconveniently present. Outside conference room seater, unfamiliar faces waited with badges and folders, calm people with sharp questions. My phone buzzed. Candace. I let it ring. The next call came from an unknown number. Ms. Vaughn, a careful voice said. We are trying to understand how approvals were documented for Glass Orchard. I am no longer with Lattice Harbor Labs, I replied. A pause. Who can explain the workflow? The executive office, I said. Candace messages stacked up. Call me now. You are responsible for those approvals. I answered once. I followed the process I was instructed to follow. Then I turned the phone face down and walked out into the cold air. Sam texted me later. They are sweating. Good, I texted back. Sweat is evidence of effort. Another message followed. Dorian is blaming you. Of course he is, I replied. He only borrowed the project. He also borrowed the conscience. Sometime near dusk, Celeste called. We have your lantern log, she said. It is thorough. Thorough is another word for undeniable, I said. Candace is demanding you return immediately, Celeste added. Tell her I will return when she learns to write instructions in daylight, I said. When the call ended, I sat at my kitchen table and listened to the quiet. For the first time in months, no one was asking me to fix a secret. Revenge did not feel like fireworks. It felt like oxygen. An hour later, an email arrived from a former coworker who still had courage and a personal email address. No greeting, just a screenshot. The workflow map lit in warning colors. Every path ended the same way, at the same unresolved node. Pending final approval, executive office. I stared at it and laughed once, quietly. The system was not accusing anyone. It was only pointing at the place where authority should have lived and never did. Candace had called that efficiency. The reviewers would call it negligence. The next day felt strange, like a weekend that had wandered into a weekday without permission. My phone stayed quiet for a while, then began to ring with numbers I did not recognize. I ignored most of them. Desperation is loud, but it rarely says anything new. Celeste called sometime in the afternoon. Her tone was even, which told me the building was not. Candace has been removed from active oversight, she said. Interim governance is in place. The reviewers want a debrief from you. I will debrief, I said, under one condition. Name it, Celeste replied. Authority, I said, not a title. The ability to stop work when it is wrong, even if it is expensive, even if it is embarrassing. Celeste paused. You will have it. Good, I said. Then accountability can stop pretending it is decor. Sam texted me later. Candace is telling everyone you sabotaged her. I smiled. Sabotage requires action, I wrote back. I only stopped translating. In the following days, Celeste and the reviewers met me in a neutral office that smelled like fresh paint and liability. I brought lantern log on a secure drive and a simple notebook. I did not dramatize. I walked them through the chain. What was asked, what was avoided, what was pushed onto me, what was never allowed to be written down. When they asked for proof of Candace instructions, I showed the pattern. The pattern was the proof. One reviewer, stern but fair, leaned back. This reads like a process built to fail safely for executives, he said. Fail safely, I repeated. That is a polite way to say someone locked the fire exit from the inside. Celeste's mouth twitched, almost a smile. The board would like you to return, she said. Not as cover, as corrective. I let the silence stretch, not to punish her, but to honor myself. I return only as the person who controls risk, I said. No more sole accountability without sole authority. Agreed, Celeste said. My first day back, sometime in the early morning, I walked into Lattice Harbor Labs with a badge that still felt unreal. People looked up as if they had expected me to vanish permanently into rumor. Sam met me by the elevators with a paper bag. Emergency snacks, he said. I took it. You are a good conspirator, I said. He grinned. I prefer the term logistics. In the executive wing, Candace's nameplate was gone. Dorian office door stood open, and his confidence had apparently taken a personal day. I did not celebrate their discomfort. I only noted that the building sounded different when fear had to share space with facts. At the first leadership meeting, I placed two rules on the table. Everything gets written down. No one signs without authority. Someone tried to joke. I did not smile. Candace had used humor as a weapon. I was not interested in props. When the meeting ended, Celeste walked with me into the hallway. "You did not burn the place down," she said quietly. "No," I replied. "I just turned on the lights." And that was the cleanest kind of revenge, letting people face the world they built, with nowhere left to hide. Before I left that day, I deleted the old message Candace had sent me about trust. No archive, no nostalgia. The story was finished, and the paper trail finally belonged to the truth.